Hey, welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Friday. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure that you smash that like button, spank it, gently tap it, however you'd like to. Just make sure to hit like, okay? Comment as well. It helps us in the algorithm, which you know is stacked against us. Big day for Donald Trump, I think, and I want to get into that. But I got to get something off my chest first, okay? You guys know, if you are avid watchers of the show, that we have not one, but 2 Donald Trump signs in our yard. Now, I only had one until they tried to kill him again. And then I was like, every time they try to kill him, another sign goes in the yard. So we had the 2 signs, and they're still up, only because I honestly, every time I think about it, my hands are full getting in and out of the car, and I'm like, I need to go take those signs down. But for a while, I was like, we're just going to gloat for a little while. And then I thought, okay, we're moving into, Thanksgiving. I'll just go remove the signs. And I just hadn't. Well, our HOA, who already got complaints about our Trump signs, you can't do anything about it, says Texas law. So cry harder, Karen. Okay. So our HOA reached out and they sent an email and they said, excuse me, just a friendly reminder that you need to take your political signs down now because of the rules, the HOA rules. And by the way, we were not the only ones. There were 2 other houses right by us. We all still had our Trump signs up. And I look at my husband and I'm like, I haven't seen any rules that our HOA has adopted telling us how long we have to take our signs down. And he just so happens to be on the board, which we did intentionally so that we could make it as based as possible during his tenure and make sure that there weren't a bunch of woke Karens who tried to do exactly what's happening now. And so I'm like, what are the rules that have been adopted by the board? And he says, I don't see any. So we responded and we said, so could you please cite the actual rules that were adopted by the board that caused you to send me an email telling me that I was in violation of some stupid rule? And she responds and she says, I don't know what the rules are that were adopted by the board. Well, Caitlin, why did you send an email telling us we were in violation of a rule that you don't know what it is? So now, Stephen, the sign is staying in the yard. And you know what? The signs, I should say. The signs are staying in the yard. And you know what? The signs might stay in the yard for 4 years. How do you feel about that?
I just want everyone to know that what Sara is on air is literally how she is in real life. So just if anyone was worried about it or concerned, this is what you get.
I'm not I was gonna
poke the bear. I just don't poke the bear.
I was gonna take them down. I planned to take them down on my own time. Now they're staying up for 4 years. Because you tell me the difference in my Donald Trump sign supporting Donald Trump and someone who has their little school sign out that says, yay, my kid plays lacrosse at this school and I love it. What's the difference? What's the difference, Stephen?
Well, the Trump sign's way cooler.
Thank you. And your son sucks at lacrosse, okay? So I don't care that he plays. You should take that sign down. I'm telling you guys, I am waging war on this stupid HOA management. And Stephen, we're burning the whole thing to the ground.
Okay.
I was trying to play nice, and now I'm not playing nice anymore. Okay? Because listen, as Donald Trump said, and let's get to the latest Trump news. As Donald Trump said, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in the way. They're coming after us, Stephen. They're going to try to engage, weaponize their bureaucracy, just like that damn HOA management. Okay? So I'll keep you guys posted on that because I'm not backing down. I'm really not backing down. And I'll take pictures every once in a while. 6 months from now, you can see how the Trump signs in our yard are doing. So really the big news on what is going on with Donald Trump. Well, the Manhattan judge, Juan Merchan, who was, of course, presiding over his Stormy Daniels hush money case, the one that he had the 34 felony counts. Oh my goodness. And we were waiting for sentencing. Well, Donald Trump's team filed a motion to dismiss the case entirely. And he has granted that motion and indefinitely postponed his sentencing for his guilty verdict, which means that entire sham, that entire big production, the dog and pony show, he had to show up. Remember, he couldn't talk about it. He couldn't leave because he had to show up in court while he was supposed to be campaigning. You guys remember, this was all strategic. He had to show up in court every day. They mandated that he show up. It wasn't enough that his attorney showed up. He personally had to show up in court every day this case was going on because they knew that it would hurt they thought it would hurt his campaign. It didn't. But the entire point was, of course, to weaponize this judicial system against him. And after that, all the woke Karens were like, but he's a convicted felon. You can't vote for a convicted felon. Ha! This makes it official. No, he's not. And he never will be. So obviously this is a win. Okay. But as you're going through all of this, they say it's hereby ordered defendant's request for leave to file a motion to dismiss pursuant to criminal procedure law is granted. It's further ordered that the joint request for a motion schedule is granted, and defendant's motion is due by the close of business Monday, December 2nd. And they had been kicking this can down the road. If you guys recall, I think it was like September that he was originally supposed to have been sentenced. And they kept kicking the can down the road and kicking the can down the road. And they realized, oh, crap, this is not working for us. And so because under New York state law, Trump is not considered a convicted felon until after sentencing, he ain't a felon. You guys can take that talking point and you can shove it up your behind. None of it worked. None of it worked. So Stephen Chung, Trump's spokesman and incoming White House communications director, had said in response to this, in a decisive win for President Trump, the hoax Manhattan case is now fully stayed and sentencing is adjourned. President Trump won a landslide victory as American people have issued a mandate to return him to office and dispose of all the remnants of the witch hunt cases. All of the sham lawfare attacks against President Trump are now destroyed, and we are focused on making America great again. So it's such a huge day. Look, I know you guys knew that this case was bogus, and I'm sure all of you hoped that justice would prevail here. But you have the left. I mean, think about the ramifications if this had been successful, right? According to the left's playbook of destruction, he's already passed. I want you to listen to what Andrew Tate has to say. Now, those of you, I know we all have our opinions on Andrew Tate, but I just listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth, and you tell me if the scenario that he lays out sounds familiar.
The truth is this. So I knew it was coming. I absolutely not knew it was coming because of how orchestrated it was. The only thing, and I'll state this at the beginning, the only reason I'm upset by being canceled is because I've expired one of my lives. Because first you get canceled, then they make up a reason to put you in jail. And if that fails, they kill you. So now I'm down to my last 2 lives, which is also why while I'm answering this question, I'm still being careful how I'm answering it. I'm not telling you
scary
everything.
Shit.
It's scary because they've given me the warning and I'm still running my mouth.
Yeah.
So that's scary. But here's how cancellation works. So I knew it was going to happen because there's very, very orchestrated attacks.
They lost. They thought that they could cancel him, smear him, indict him. They made up 91 freaking reasons to put him in prison. And you can take 34 of those reasons and just shut the door on those, okay? The rest of them are going to work themselves. I mean, some of it already has worked itself out. They're all fizzling out. They tried to kill him twice. They tried to kill him. And look, as Andrew Tate just laid out, that's what they do. Except, they weren't planning on this. They weren't successful. And now he's going to be the 47th president of the United States, baby. Okay. But I want to look at whether or not there is some sort of sabotage at play in the White House that we keep talking about, because the country's being thrown into World War III. Nobody knows who's actually calling the shots at the White House, but we're all sure that it's not Joe Biden, who is supposed to be, of course, the actual president. And I just hope and I pray every single day that Donald Trump has Secret Service around him who are not the woke DEI hires. Because remember, with that first attempt, that was like Melissa McCarthy couldn't get her gun in her holster, and like the little short chick who was covering maybe like his chest and up. So she's like really trying to protect him. Well, there's a clear headshot right there, ma'am. But then after that, we saw that there were a bunch of big giant men guarding him when he entered at the RNC. So let's just hope that Donald Trump has great protection around him, because I wouldn't put it past the bastards to try to make another attempt at Donald Trump's life. I'm just saying. I pray that doesn't happen every single day, because as much as Joe Biden wanted to say, oh, we're going to make this as easy as possible, this is going to be a seamless transition, this is going to be a peaceful transition of power, I am at your disposal, sir, to help make this as smooth as possible. It doesn't seem like that. Doesn't seem like that. Because he's given Ukraine, long-range missiles. Actually, he's not giving them he's using them for Ukraine. They were sent by us. We had to type in all the codes. And he's making it easier for unvetted illegal immigrants to come into the country on purpose. So, doesn't seem very peaceful. Keep your eyes out, DJT. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So we got to take a break, and then I want to bring in the panel. But I want to thank our sponsor, Angel Studios, here. So as the world teeters on the brink of annihilation, Dietrich Bonhoeffer is swept into the epicenter of a deadly plot to assassinate Hitler in Angel Studios' upcoming film, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin. Doesn't that sound exciting? They're making really great movies over at Angel Studios, and they're woke free, by the way. You know that if you're watching an Angel Studios movie, it is woke free. I appreciate their partnership so much. This is actually coming out on Thanksgiving, November 22nd. Oh, actually, I'm just kidding. Thanksgiving is next week, and November 22nd is today. But you can go over Thanksgiving. That's what I was going to say. Go over Thanksgiving. You got your family together. You guys are all sitting around. You're stuffed. You're waiting for things to do. You're like, what can we do? Go see this movie, okay? Get showtimes right now at angel.com/Sarah. It is out today. Go get your tickets today at angel.com/Sarah. All right, welcome to the show. Matthew Marsden, Blaze TV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Eric July, of course, founder and owner of Rippaverse Comics and a Blaze TV contributor as well. I'm glad you guys are both here. Happy Friday, by the way. Is my Christmas tree too much?
No, I think it's
early?
festive.
No.
See, because everyone was like, you can't celebrate Christmas yet. And usually that is me. But Thanksgiving is coming particularly late this year. And you got to get maximum Christmas tree time.
Do people know the reaction when they tell you that you can't do something, that now that is going to be there for the rest of the year?
Funny you mentioned that, Matt. We just talked about that. They don't know, but they'll learn. So I want to go back to people are still up in arms about Nancy Mace's. I'm told it's a very controversial resolution that she has submitted for Congress to pass that is just basically like biological men should not be in women's spaces in Congress, because now you've got someone who's threatening that, who is in Congress now. And so it's in the first stage of its legislative process. It was, November 18th that she initially introduced it. And I just, as they're debating this, which, by the way, Mike Johnson was already like, yeah, I'm the one who sets the rules, and these are the rules, and you're not going to come into women's spaces. Well, the very insightful, intelligent, some might call her genius, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had something to say about that. Watch.
What Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing are endangering all women and girls.
What?
What Nancy Mace is doing not allowing biological men in women's bathrooms and locker rooms and changing rooms is somehow endangering women and girls. Now, I want you to take your brain and I want you to like do a bunch of like acrobatic moves with it, flip it, somersault it, turn it all around, and you tell me if you can somehow make sense of what she just said.
She doesn't have a brain.
That's fair. So we're already working with more than she has.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't actually maybe hold her to the same standard as we would a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
The poor thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, of course, doing the opposite, allowing men in women's spaces.
Look, I'm actually just kind of glad that it's happening on that stage so people can really see how ridiculous this conversation is, that apparently it is controversial to just suggest that people that have ding-dongs don't go utilize the women's restrooms. I don't think that's irrational, but it became irrational like that. And now you're seeing it kind of play out in just the ridiculousness and having to see like an AOC try to argue against it. And really, there is no argument that is to be had. It's just completely nonsensical. And the fact that Congress is having to deal with it it's awesome. Obviously, I think I don't. Y'all know how I feel about government in general. I feel about Congress, but I think it's happening more or less at this more national stage and seeing it kind of play out because it is, let's say, impacting them. And I want people to just see how ridiculous it is, because it is ridiculous that we're even having the fact that we're having this conversation still boggles my mind. Mm-hmm. That even this whole issue of trans and we've dealt with the children and restrooms and things that should be, because they were at one point, no brainers, right? I mean, you shouldn't have to, we talked about AOC not having a brain, you shouldn't need one, right? To understand that, well, that's just not appropriate that for a person that has the same parts as me to be walking into a women's restroom. It just doesn't make sense, but here we are.
Right.
Sarah, here we are.
Here we are in the year 2024. Hopefully the year 2025 will be very different. But for now, I want to play a little bit more of what AOC has to say, because according to her, Republicans are going to go through a whole lot of checks, I guess, if in case, someone wants to enter the restroom and they don't look woman enough, according to AOC. Watch.
If you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this? They won't come up with an answer. And what it inevitably results in are women and girls who are primed for assault because people are going to want to check their private parts in suspecting who is trans and who is cis and who's doing what. And so the idea that Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? Who would that be? In order, because she wants to suspect and point fingers at who she thinks is trans is disgusting. It is disgusting.
We all know.
Yeah, what is she? Why is she talking like it's somehow up for question or something? Who you think? What the hell are you talking about, woman? We know the dude's trans. What are you talking about? What do you mean, who you think? But man, that's the mental gymnastics. She really properly represents government, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's the mental gymnastics that these guys have to do to try to legitimize their positions, right? Mm-hmm. Where we started here, hey, dude, don't use women's restroom. And she somehow was able to get from there to flip it to then say that the women are now under attack because maybe some people may want to inspect them because reasons like, okay, you're supposed to be the upper echelon. You're Congress. How about rule that states that the dude ain't supposed to go in a women's restroom and he just don't, and we're just done with the issue, right? She's making it far more complicated and complex than what it needs to be, but that somehow seems purposeful.
That's honestly, I agree with you, but it gets even dumber because as Mike Johnson, I think it was Mike Johnson, they already clearly laid out, they all have private bathrooms in their offices. You could just use your own freaking office bathroom. It's a non-issue if you're acting in good faith. And of course, as with all things, the left is not.
Well, it's like baking the cake, right? If someone doesn't want to bake a cake for you, just go somewhere else. Why would you want to force them to do it? I do find the irony that someone called Johnson is sorting this out. I'm sorry. My brain, my little brain, whatever's in there it goes there. But look, you watch her, I'm sitting there looking at her, and you realize how completely unserious she is. Now you've got people like Elon Musk, who is putting rocket ships into space, right? You've got very, very serious people out there on the Republican side talking sense. And you just look at them and you're just like, you guys are blatantly just absurd now. Like, before I get like het up about it, because you know that everyone go, well, that's why we have to take this really seriously. And now you're just like, no, you're just ridiculous. Like, you're saying that a man is a woman. It's clearly a man is not a woman. So I don't care what you say anymore. You're absurd.
Right. Right. Well, and, not to mention, we're always called like the violent ones, and we're, all of these fascists, you name it. It's very interesting, because anytime someone like Nancy Mace, whoever it is, comes out and says, hey, I'm standing up for women, I want to protect women. No offense to you guys, right? Like, this isn't about you. This is about women. So if you want to take offense, be offended, I guess, in the words of Matt Gaetz, but it's not about you. They always make it about them. And so these trans activists always end up, like committing death threats and showing up at people's homes, and because like they just can't handle being told no. I want to play this. It says Nancy Mace is in danger.
It's ridiculous. It is the day after Trans Day of Visibility. We have had dozens of trans people die this year because of the hate and lies that you are spreading. And if we want an internet, are we building an internet with free speech for everyone, or just the privileged few? Are you going to stand up for the lives of trans people, black and brown people? Are we fighting for justice, or are we fighting for big tech? I thought we were fighting for justice here.
That his penis isn't going to be in my bathroom. So, at any rate, but we have a responsibility. If you're pro-man watching me undress in a dressing room, you're part of the problem. But we're here to talk about the internet.
So that was, of course, Nancy Mace on stage, and the trans activists charged her. Let's play this other clip here of these trans activists. They're just really peaceful and sweet and inclusive. Let's watch.
I dare you to try and stop me from going into a women's bathroom.
Are you telling me that that's a biological man?
You ever make?
You would never know if he was entering.
Try and stop a transgender woman.
We have no idea.
In my presence.
We just think that
from
person's
using
trans.
the bathroom. It will be the last.
This is a pretty old clip, by the way. This isn't recent.
This is a call to action and
this
a
is
call
who these
to
people
arms
are.
to everybody within the United States that are scared, worried, have children that are transgender, lesbian, bi, or gay. This is a call to action. You need to arm up. Plain and simple. Go out, buy a gun.
I mean,
learn how to use
I respect being pro-gun, but for the mentally
Through
ill,
and through. Because the time to act is now. You need to protect yourself, and you need to protect your fellow transgender brothers and sisters and
that's
and
enough.
them.
That's enough. You need to protect yourself from what?
Themselves.
Not being allowed to tinkle next to the ladies.
It's like the clown that was screaming at Nancy Mace. He's going on about transgender lives that was lost. He's not like talking about murder. He's talking about self-deletion, clearly, right? So, and that's unfortunate, a situation that people feel some kind of way about themselves, which does seem to say a lot about, where we're at ideologically. But that's not everybody else's fault, right? Like, that's not everybody else's fault that something like that is happening. But it does say, again, a lot about that ideology, and that's a really, really tough conversation that we really should be having. That somehow these people are going through these transitions and still are coming out with the same damn problem, right? In which they and it's like this validation. It's need to be validated, which is so stupid. But it's not a trait that I would say that anybody, I don't care, straight, gay doesn't matter. That's completely irrelevant. That you should have where your entire existence is centered around other people acknowledging you. That's so goofy, man. And that's what he's screaming on about at Nancy Mace. And it's just like that speaks to so many other issues, but that's not our problem, as in like it's something that we're saying or we need to make some sort of adjustment for you.
Right.
Like it's nonsense.
Right.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the core of this and in the woke movement, and people throw this word around a lot with not really knowing what it means, is it's a narcissistic movement. Because what it is you have a group of people, especially young people right now, that feel like back in the day, they would think, oh, I don't really feel like I belong. This is something that's as old as the hills, right? Like you got a jock that doesn't really feel like he fits in, or someone who's a nerd. They don't really feel like they fit in with the sports community and whatever. But eventually you find your people, right? You find your community. But what has happened now is we have people going online who feel like a little bit maybe disenfranchised, maybe they're not very physical, or whatever it might be. And instead of like saying finding the people the way you used to be, they're looking, and the lowest hanging fruit is how can people tell me that I'm special online?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it went through a spate where it was like, I'm coming out, I'm bisexual. And it was like, you are so brave. You are so brave. And then someone else came out and they went, well, I'm pansexual. Oh, you are 5 times more brave than that person. And now it's trans.
To keep outdoing themselves.
It really is. That's what they do, because then all of a sudden they're like, you are such a special flower and you are so brave and we love you so much. And they don't have to do anything. There's no like soul searching. There's no like
their identity.
That's exactly what it is. So what we've done, and this is through social media mainly, is we have enabled people who maybe initially might have had some kind of like little issue, right? Like some self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
Now it's fully blown into some kind of psychosis, and it's a major problem that we should really, really be addressing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we are, and we're called anti-trans, transphobic, all of that. I'm like, I actually care about these people. I was telling my friend Dan Ball over at OAN this the other day. Like, I'm not anti-trans. I care about these people. I care more about these people than those of the rest of you guys who are advocating for them to sterilize themselves and chop off their own genitals. I care about them way more than you guys. And by the way, most of y'all are doing it for profit, which just makes it even. There's an extra layer of evil there. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys, join us at Blaze TV if you're not yet a subscriber. Might I interest you in $30 off for a year-long subscription? We've got a ton of content there. Obviously, it's not just me. Okay. But you can find, of course, Glenn Beck. You can find Stu Burgier. You can find Pat Gray. You can find so many more people over at blazetv.com/Sarah. Get $30 off over at blazetv.com/Sarah. Hey, while I've got your attention, make sure that you go check out my new merch over at sarahmerch.com. We've got the MAGA Moms Club merch that just dropped. So if you too are a MAGA mom, we don't have to I was never secret about it, but you don't have to be a secret about it anymore. You just wear it. No, Steven, I said I wasn't, but some people may have been. He's getting in my ear like you were. I just said it. But
what about men that can be MAGA moms as well?
You can't.
Oh, wow.
You can't. You're not allowed to buy it.
Transphobic.
Damn right.
I think you hate
You're not
transphobes. You're a transphobe Nazi.
You're not. If you are a male, you're not allowed to buy this for yourself. You are allowed to buy it for your wife. sarahmerch.com. You can get 25% off with the code Sarah25. That's like our Black Friday sale. We don't do that very often. So sarahmerch.com. I don't want to see you walking around the studio wearing a MAGA Moms Club
You're not
shirt.
the boss of me.
So it was so fun. I love doing the show at the time that we do it because I'm able to get my kids dinner and stuff like that. But sometimes there's a very short window where we tape the show and then we wait. And you just pray that no big news happens that makes what you've just said irrelevant. And yesterday, Matt Gaetz had just dropped out of the running for AG. And we spent a very long time talking about how it needed to be Ken Paxton. And about 5 minutes before that show aired, Donald Trump announced that he had picked Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General. And I was like, you couldn't have waited until 8 p.m. Eastern. You had to do it right before our conversation. So Pam Bondi is the new one who is up for AG. And you know, you would think that Democrats might have learned their lesson in trashing every single, it doesn't work out well for them. They try to just throw a bunch of mud at the wall and see what sticks. And you'll notice they're doing the same thing with Pam Bondi. It didn't take them but about 5 seconds to start talking about how now Pam Bondi should be disqualified. And this time it's because she's an election denier. Watch.
And the other motive here by the president is he wants loyalists that will defend him and go after his adversaries. I'm obviously particularly interested in the Justice Department because I came out of the Justice Department. And, we dodged a bullet, certainly, with Matt Gaetz. But nevertheless, he is chosen for the very top positions now, including the nominee of Bondi. People that are basically his personal attorneys, his criminal attorneys, his impeachment attorney. He views the Justice Department not as a department representing the American people or the public interest, but as a department representing Donald Trump, his criminal liability, his civil liability, to be his shield and also to be his sword and go after his enemies. And as well, Pam Bondi was one of the election deniers out there very early on in Pennsylvania, making claims of fake ballots. So if she is going to be the Attorney General, what does that mean in terms of how Donald Trump and the Justice Department treat all of those people convicted of assaulting police officers on January 6th? Is she going to continue as Attorney General, pushing out the big lie? These are questions that she's going to have to answer during her confirmation hearings. But you're right. Those that have been loyal to him, those that have been willing to essentially present his false defenses and his fake claims, have been now elevated to the top ranks, or if he has his way, will be elevated to the top ranks of our justice system.
It's always, it's only people who are loyal to Donald Trump. I mean, that's generally the way that it works, is that you need people that you can trust in your cabinet surrounding you. And if anyone knows what types of ramifications can happen if you don't have people you can trust around you, it's Donald Trump, who had a record number of leaks coming from his first administration. They were constantly, there was an anonymous op-ed in the New York Times bragging about how they were not doing what he said. I mean, so it's like, maybe there's something to making sure that you have someone that you can trust and personally within your administration. But, he talks about she's an election denier. She purported his false claims. Well, I would say if you look at that graph that we showed a while back of the amount of votes that were counted in like the 4 previous elections, 2020, Democrats sky high through the roof, back down to normal baseline here in 2024. So I don't know. Maybe there was something to that whole argument that there was something crazy going on with the mail-in ballots and the ballot stuffings in 2000 Mules and all. Maybe there was something going on with that. Maybe there was something going on with the fact that in this election, the RNC, under the leadership of Laura Trump and Michael Whatley, actually sued states that were doing things wrong. Maybe there's something to the fact that you had states that were removing non-citizens who were ineligible to vote from their rolls, and the federal government sued them and told them to bring them back onto. Maybe there's something all to that, okay? But nonetheless, let's go ahead and play election denier Pam Bondi, and you guys tell me if this is so egregious that she's asking for, votes to be counted fairly in Pennsylvania. Watch.
We're here this morning because we just got a great ruling from the appellate court. The appellate court just issued an order allowing immediate access for our team to observe the voting process. Immediate access. So our team of 15 people will be headed in right now to observe the vote counting process. So we plan on entering that building right now and legally observing the voting process.
They want to legally observe it.
If there's one illegal vote that is cast, it takes away from the great men and women of Pennsylvania who came out and issued a legal
If there's
vote.
one illegal vote that's counted, it takes away from the Pennsylvania voters who are voting legally.
Yeah.
If I had any pearls to clutch, guys, oh my gosh, I'd clutch them. How dare she actually say that votes should be counted, legal votes should be counted, and it should all be done fair and square. That right there, what you just heard, is now called an election denier in mainstream media.
Well, they better get out there and have a word with Hillary Clinton. Because she denied the election.
And Stacey Abrams, too.
And how many are doing it now?
Yeah, it's a bunch of them, yeah.
How many are doing it now? I mean,
And they're like, we need a recount. Oh, honey, you want to go through that again? I would love a recount. We get to relive that night. Oh, please, baby.
No, I mean, look, it's absurd. And look, I always say, like, hate is a very, very strong emotion and should be reserved for very few people. That guy. I mean, me living in California for all this time.
Pencil neck.
That guy is very close for me because he is the most useless individual you will ever meet. And the fact, I mean, I loved it when Tucker just took him apart. It was a thing of beauty. But that to me says everything about the system in California, by the way, that he's now a senator. Like, what? But I mean, they did replace another fine senator in California with him.
Is there someone, does he have the most punchable face in this country? Is there someone that you can think of with a
It's
more
like somebody's like pumped him up with a balloon, like a balloon.
It's just you look at it and you immediately are like, I want to punch your face. In a video game, YouTube.
On Minecraft. But
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Well, less
just
for
let
me
at
about
him.
punching and more that he's just stupid. I think that
It's just that smarty,
this is the thing.
bloated face.
With
How is it held up on on that tiny little neck?
He's like Team America, like the
He's got the strings.
the strings like that.
It must be what it is, because it looks way too heavy to be held up. It should like bobble over. Sorry, Eric, go ahead. I'm sure you were going to say something much smarter than what I just said.
We're talking about, well, look at the size of his head. Eric's going to come up with a very,
Eric's
very
like, actually, I was
detailed
going to say something
philosophical-
serious. Thanks.
no, I was just gonna say,
It's Friday, all
as
right?
hilarious as this is, look, anybody that's operating in politics, especially if you like win an election, the people that you're going to surround yourself with are going to be people that, to Sarah's point, that you trust, right? So he's not saying anything profound when he's like, hey, these people that he's putting in these positions are folks that are going to be loyal to him. Like, well, no crap. Would you purposely put someone in a position that isn't going to be loyal to you, right? What was why on earth would I do that? What's the point of the election if I don't get to decide, who gets to work with me? I mean, that can cross over into business. That can cross over into anything where you are facilitating something that's not necessarily profound, but it is rich coming from certainly his party. This idea that, especially with the Justice Department, it wants to use it to go after their enemies. And I'm sitting here like, he didn't just say that.
The goal.
No,
He did not just say that.
I mean,
what has been the rigmarole that we've been going through over the last for several years? Right. What have you been doing? What has your party specifically been doing?
Yeah. And
going after the opposition.
So then do you think that he realizes, like, does he lack the self-awareness to understand that he's doing
I think he's just retarded, to be completely honest. And he doesn't seem to understand that, like, okay, obviously this is the game, right? This is the game that y'all play it. You've been playing it very effectively, to your credit. But now the shoe kind of is on the other foot, and now you find that there's some sort of problem with it, right? Not having being aware of the fact that, well, this is what you have all been doing. And you've been doing it for a very, very long time. Don't give me this crap like the Justice Department is supposed to be this objective means to, just go after people by the rule of the law and all this nonsense. No, you put people in those positions that are loyal to you. They're going to go after your adversaries. They're going to protect the people that are loyal to you as well. And that's been the game. That's the point of the elections, top to bottom. Surround yourself with people that are going to utilize the state to do what they want. That's all they've ever done. So it's rich that that's coming, especially from Democrats that well, Trump's not doing it, and it's a problem. Get out of my face, bro.
I do want to play, before we have to go to break, I do want to play probably my favorite cope from the left over the Pam Bondi announcement, which there's nothing against Pam Bondi. I'm sure she's great. I just, I don't get it. I don't get it not being Ken Paxton. That's what I don't get. But again, I'll be watching, but I'm hopeful. I'm trusting the plan, okay, as they say.
Nobody from Texas.
Well, that does tell you something. If there were anyone who were worthy of coming from Texas, it would be Ken Paxton. Certainly not Abbott or, any of the others.
Cornyn.
Or Cornyn. Well, of course not Cornyn. Cruz, maybe. But, after you say what you say about someone's wife, just things can't ever be the same, probably. But I want to play MSNBC, my favorite cope with Pam Bondi, is they're like, oh, she is dangerous because she is competent. Watch.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that with a little more depth with both of you, including her.
That's good.
That is so great.
She's an effective pick.
She'll do a job.
She's effective and she's competent. Oh, no. Oh, shit. What will we do? Oh, my gosh. All right. Speaking of mainstream media, let's talk a little bit more about them when we come back. Uh-oh. Comcast has decided that they are going to detach some of their diversification in mainstream media, in cable news. And I could tell you, but I would rather you hear it from Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough over at Morning Joe. And I want you to come for the announcement, and then I want you to stay for the reaction watch.
Comcast, which owns our parent company, NBC Universal, plans to spin off its cable TV networks. That's according to the Wall Street Journal and people familiar with the situation. The company will separate off entertainment and news channels, including MSNBC, CNBC, USA, Oxygen, E, Sci-Fi, and the Golf Channel.
So it's spinning off.
The new cable venture will reportedly have an ownership structure that
Why are they showing
Comcast.
buildings while they're talking?
Comcast spokesperson declined to comment.
So Willie, as you look at the screen right there, the big concern that stockholders right now on Wall Street are wondering about before they decide what to do with Comcast shares is whether Mika is going to have to give up her penthouse perch atop the Comcast building.
Okay, so they're like, oh, maybe she's going to lose her penthouse. Mika's going to lose her penthouse. I hope that this is the beginning of the end of MSNBC, which we've all seen coming for a very long time. And it's just been fascinating to watch these people who, by the way, they take themselves very seriously, but then no one's watching them. And they fight till every last breath to keep Donald Trump out of the White House. But there's one problem with that. When, once that's over, nobody watches your stupid shit anymore. Nobody is watching them anymore after Donald Trump won. So it's like Rachel Maddow, she has had a drop off of 54% of viewership just after the election. I mean, it's all like that. They are all having their lowest rated shows now that Donald Trump has gotten elected. And, it's just couldn't happen to a more deserving group of people.
I think it's more than that. And I'll tell you why. Donald Trump was the greatest thing to happen to them.
Right.
From 2016 onwards.
That's what I'm saying. Why would they fight so hard to keep him out of office?
Well,
they got their best ratings with him.
Yeah, but the whole country is changing.
Yeah.
This is the thing. So think about this. They go and meet with him, right? Mar-a-Lago, just last week, I think it was, right? And then all of a sudden, Comcast isn't. You're telling me that they did not know that Comcast was going? Of course, they knew that Comcast was going to do this.
Right.
So this is about the changing shift in the culture on the whole, that people are just like, it's not just about Trump. This is about people going, I'm done with woke. I'm just done with this. Because if they weren't done with woke, then we could have another 4 years of going on and on and on about Donald Trump and pushing up the ratings. It's not going to work this time because people have had enough.
Well, I mean, this was like the ultimate destroyer of any credibility that they may have had left. The way that they fought, the lies that they told, clearly the American people saw through it because they chose Donald Trump in spite of all of these lies that were being told to them if they were watching MSNBC. So it's like, okay, how many more times can you destroy your credibility before people just stop listening to you?
Yeah, this is a problem with news in general, specifically the like left wing news, and I include CNN because Warner is doing the same thing with them. It's not the same in terms of like breaking it off, but you've seen layoffs, and it seems like this is an inevitable thing. But things have fundamentally changed culturally and how people consume, specifically, like, again, the news. It's just not the same anymore. People don't feel like they have to go through the CNNs or, the MSNBCs or wherever they're slanted to try to get informed about something. They're going to Blaze, they're going to some YouTuber in his freaking bathroom or his bedroom or maybe his bathroom. I mean, it might be his basement. No, seriously, people are watching. Yeah. I'm being dead serious about the CNN was mad at that over the election because they know that people are watching them getting more concurrent viewers than they get. Our bros, Friday Night Times, people that watch a show that's in our circle, we average like what, 19, between 15,000 and 19 to 20,000 people that are watching. You think that many people was watching Rachel Madcow? No, not even close. Not even close. Even if it's played at an airport in somebody's background or something, and that's where they're picking up their viewership. Things have changed, and they don't quite understand the answer because we saw during the pandemic, and it was just a leftist thing in general. It wasn't just like their news organizations, where they made the adjustment to try to cross over into this more private venture, podcast, doing stuff like that. And it utterly failed. They all sucked. They didn't have their writers. They didn't have their high production.
They're not authentic.
Yeah, they're not real people. And that's what people, you bring up a great point. That's what people are looking for now when they're looking at that type of material. So I don't even think, breaking away, selling to somebody, as long as it's in that format, it's still dead. It's done.
It's over.
So do I wait before I spit on their graves?
No.
I can do that immediately. I mean, think about who we've lost already. Oh man, we lost Mrs. Potato Head, Brian Stelter. Now he does make appeapperances.
Yeah, he's on
still
CNN.
On CNN, which is so funny to me. And then Don Lemon, who he's trying so hard to get
a lot of people that didn't make it.
A lot. And oh gosh, maybe more to come. I mean, I was already really excited about the next 4 years. Dude, don't threaten me with a good time. I am ready. We will pop champagne on this set the day that happens. And I hope you guys are here for that day.
Oh yeah.
Next week.